right, welcome to Blazed Weekly News. This is podcast number 260 this week on the program. We took a week off. Wasn't a whole lot to update anybody on last week, so we took off the show, but we're back with news. A lot of moving parts in the hemp industry this week, both nationally and, of course, locally here at statewide. So we're going to talk with our panel here today. David, we got Lloyd Covens from Denver joining us. We've got David Sergi and Jay McGuire. But let's bring in Rachel, my co-host, joining us again up from home away from home. Isn't that right, Rachel?
Yes, I'm up in the Texas Panhandle, Route 66.
Well, very cool. Good to see you, even if you're up there, and we'll get you back in studio soon, I'm sure.
Next week.
And let's see. Let's bring in everybody else, like Lloyd, and then also we'll say hi to Jay McGuire and David Sergi. The guys have been, David, been doing a media tour of sorts here in the last few days with the court hearing. Hi, David. Sergi, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm just glad it's Friday.
Yes, thank you all for being a part of our broadcast on Friday. Jay McGuire also joining us. Hi, Jay. But again, welcome to the show, guys. Podcast 260. Can you give us a sense of how this proceedings went during the week, David, that ultimately landed the industry the temporary injunction?
Well, the court gave us a very, very fair hearing. The court really worked hard to give us the latitude that we needed to make our case. We were able to bring in, Dr. Andrea Holmes, who's probably one of the best cannabis scientists I know, present company accepted. We were able to bring in Bo from, I guess he's from Oregon. And we were, what can I say, at it hammer and tongs for 2.5 days. The state didn't give us really any quarter, but I think we were able to convince the judge of the righteousness of our position. It was interesting. I got to cross-examine Dr. Stevenson, and what was really funny to me personally was I have a thumb injury, so I have something on my thumb. He had one too. And as we were talking outside in the hall, I said, "Have you ever tried Delta 8 or Delta 9? Rub it on your fingers. It really works." And he was kind of curious.
Well, I'm glad everybody's able to play nice together. Then that sounds good. Jay McGuire, did we get your audio fixed up?
I sure hope so. Can you hear me?
Yes, we got you there. Hi, Jay. How are you, man?
Also good to see you.
Good to see you too, man. Anything you'd like to just add to analysis of the week and the fairness there with the court?
Sure, I got plenty to say, but there's probably too much to say, not enough time. I'll say this: I recruited David to be the lawyer in Sky Marketing, and so I take credit for all of the objections that were sustained. Since I'm not getting any of that billing he's doing. At least I could get some of the kudos. David and the team, I think, did a very good job. I had to comb over that transcript a couple of times for the articles that will come out on Monday morning. Interesting the way today, unfolded. We get the temporary injunction from the district court, and then we finally, at long last, get a written opinion by the Texas Supreme Court in the Sky Marketing case that started all those years ago. begat this $6 billion industry, $4 billion in retail and $2 billion in other knock-on effects, according to Adam Goldman, the economist. And, could end it all, but I don't think so. I think we'll let the lawyers interpret it better, but I've got a few things I want to add.
Right, sure.
I think it's important, Russell, last week we didn't have a show, so I didn't get to report on this to the audience. If you zoom out and you look at the overall strategy that the opponents of the hemp industry are approaching the political side from, a collapse of the hemp industry and that $6 billion means that there's going to be a large amount of unmet demand. And expansion of the Texas Compassionate Use program, and put that in quotes, means that some of that demand will be funneled through a medicalized system to the multi-state operators who were, we now know, wrongly granted at first unconditionally, and then conditionally, and now maybe some of them not at all because they used the wrong math. DPS gave the licenses to the wrong people. You can see it all on my Substack and on Blaze News, and we'll be glad to get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, some of the reporting that you had been doing earlier in the week.
Russell, I'm going to make a point regarding TCUP. It's something that not too many people have thought of. But as you know, we're rescheduling marijuana to Schedule 3. So it's going to become medicine. And when I was in Berlin at the ICBC, I met with some of my German colleagues, and something became apparent to me. And that is that in Germany, all of the marijuana, what? In Germany, all the marijuana is sold through pharmacies pursuant prescriptions. And it occurred to me, if this is medicine, a doctor has a right to prescribe medicine, and a pharmacy should have the right to sell medicine. Mm-hmm. Why do we need TCUP at all?
Exactly.
Because really, Kim Rivers and her cohorts are counting on a monopoly. And quite frankly, we got to kick back and say, you ain't going to get that monopoly. Guess what? This is medicine. And I've already had a pharmacy group reach out to me about potentially filing suit over that as soon as the Schedule 3 goes into effect. Wow. And so it's sort of be careful what you wish for. And what, to me, the great part of that is that to the intelligent producers, it'll open up a line of retail and open up medical to the, writ large. And there's still a place for hemp in this. But what there won't be is a place for MSOs.
Hallelujah.
That's an interesting. Go ahead, Rachel.
I have a question. So when will Schedule 3 go into effect? Because I think most of us schedule it or scrolling on Instagram see, oh, it's a Schedule 3 now. We just think, oh, effective immediately.
I thought it was April 28th that it went into effect, but
oh, good. Okay.
I'll have to go double check on that.
Lloyd, do you have anything to contribute to the conversation? Just
go
right ahead.
I'm very mindful expansion that has occurred. Well, of course, here in Colorado, we started in about 2009 with nonprofit medical. 2014, we opened rec. And the disadvantage, of course, was that medical was always pulling out with no money and going into rec dual. And then some of these states that followed us, Nevada's a good point. Everybody who stood up medical in Nevada automatically took over and got all of the rec side. Happened in Missouri. So I think Texas could be the reverse of that. But I do want to give Trulieve and Kim Rivers a tiny bit of help. They put in, I think, $8 or $9 million, both Biden and Trump, to get attention and I think to get us, especially out of the rut at the executive level. I don't believe we're ever going to fix the DEA. We're dragging the FDA towards us, and we are very much getting, I think Texas still be in the best position. And I agree with McGuire that the handling of the map and the selection was very political and bad. Right. But I hope you don't end up like Arizona in court for 5 years and nothing gets open. So it's a mixed bag. I think TCUP beginning 150 stores where you can tell consumers this is Schedule 3 is really going to open eyes, and it will legitimize the Texas retail experience from day one. And I think when we get to pre-November, and I, again, talk a little bit about it later, my own view is that there will be a small amount of a sub-bill to deal with the hemp ban, and it hopefully will go something like 3 milligrams for the CBD Medicare program, 4 milligrams for edibles and 5 milligrams is carve out for drinks.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot of moving parts right now here with rescheduling. You've got the Farm Bill, I guess, was going on during the week. Jay McGuire, bring Jay in on the conversation again. The irony that the Supreme Court releases this, it's not, they're following what's going on with this case as well, clearly.
No coincidence.
Well, there's no coincidences ever in
Right.
politics or physics or life or anything like that. No, the Texas Supreme Court is made up of 5 independently elected politicians who are judges. Not every state has elected judges. Often they're appointed and confirmed by the Senate or some other mechanism, but these folks have to run on the ballot like everybody else does. They have to pay for the campaigns, and they're subject to the same pressures to raise those funds and are as captive by the vested interests who write the checks in this post-Citizens United world that we live in. And I'm not saying that it's a corrupt decision, but in my view, it's really just bullshit. They issued this decision to shore up a bad, rotten, sneaky, underhanded, unconstitutional, and un-American, un-Texan decision by the previous Commissioner Hellerstedt, who did it under duress, enacted a rule in a 6-minute Zoom hearing after having published a non-searchable PDF in the Texas Register, acting as though posting it on the website, which they never did anyway, was sufficient to create a rule that they could then enforce. And what that meant was that DPS could enforce it and put people in jail.
Well, Jay,
this is not right.
Now, Jay, would I be speculating if, do those politicians' budget come from the war chest from Dan Patrick's millions of dollars that he has? I don't know. I mean,
You're onto something.
We're skating down a slippery slope here politically in the Lone Star State here. Podcast 260, we are live this week here on Blaze Weekly News. Rachel, do you have anything for David?
Yeah, obviously what happened today with the Texas Supreme Court sets a dangerous precedent, wouldn't you think? Whenever it comes, because I'm sure that the TRO is going to keep going up the ranks. So when the Texas Supreme Court gets to this case, do we think it's going to go the same way?
Well, I mean, it's kind of important that there are some legal distinctions here. Our injunction is about Health and Safety Code Chapter 300 and whether or not rulemaking can apply to expanding it to total THC, which is not in the statute. Whereas the Sky Marketing case relied on 481 of the Health and Safety Code, and basically where they were able to expand the list of controlled substances under a delegation of authority from the legislature. Now, I disagree with a lot of the logic of the opinion, but that's a pretty major distinction because we're dealing with 2 different laws. One is that Sky Marketing, in the Sky Marketing case, Dishes arguably had authority to do what they did, and that's now what the court has said. Whereas in this case, they have gone beyond the literal wording of the statute and basically made a total T when it wasn't actually total T. It actually says Delta 9 by dry weight basis. And that to me is a critical distinction, which hopefully will be what wins the case for us.
It's really good to know that distinction, by the way, because I think a lot of people looking at this like me would think, oh no, that it's just going to be, we're going to see it play out the same way. And it took many years, for this Sky Marketing case to come this far. So do we think it's going to take that long for us to see this come up again?
Well, we've got several steps that we have to go through. Mm-hmm. First of all, Amanda Taylor, Butler Snow, and our team's appellate counsel, Chad, they're working together on this right now. There's also sort of an issue of associational standing because who this applies to, it's going to be next to impossible to apply this injunction to people that, and I'm going to have to step back for a second. The injunction itself, the state is kind of arguing, and the court said that you have to be very careful in how you craft the order. And I think the judge did a very, very good job of crafting the order, because essentially what she said is, you can't just have, 5 or 6 people in the industry when nobody else is there. There is no industry. So she crafted that order very, very carefully. And then on top of it, if you have a trade association, what are they going to do? Stop and ask if you're a member of that trade association, show us your card? It is next to impossible for this to really be an injunction that only applies to a few limited folks. And so I probably haven't answered the question that you posed, but I think this is a really important thing for people to realize. And it's a different logic for different statutes. And so while the term ultra vires, was discarded in the Sky Marketing case, I think it applies exactly. And if you look at the logic of the opinion, I think it actually gives us some strength to say Sky Marketing may not have had ultra vires in it, may not have exceeded authority, but it's black letter law that you've exceeded authority when you try to graft total T in a bill that, in legislation that is limited to Delta 9 by dry weight basis.
Can I butt in with a quick comment?
Yeah.
I think that the 4 years that just concluded this morning, even if it's 3 years from now, as an outsider and a non-lawyer, I've been in New Mexico, Colorado, the West, and I feel very much that Texas is the leader in the people electing better members of the Supreme Court, which is to say, by the time we get there, Talarico is a good example. I think moving towards 64% of Dallas said decriminalize. The state clearly is 55, 56% and higher, 80% for medical. So the citizens are going to vote these bums out, I think, Rachel. It's not going to be the same group as we've had in the last 2 years reviewing this in Sky, I hope.
Lloyd, I totally agree with you. And I think Jay could probably address some of the politics better. But I'll tell you that look at the closeness of the governor's race, even the lieutenant governor's race. I got to talk to Vicki Goodwin today. And there is some honest polling out there that shows that Democrats are starting to pull ahead. And this is one of the issues, because there are a lot of vets, there's a lot of elderly, and there are a lot of consumers that are just pissed off at this. And I think it's a bet that has really backfired on some of the prohibitionists and Dan Patrick, who's trying to basically support alcohol. Jay, I'll turn that over to you.
Yeah, Jay, on the political side, I mean, this is turning into, Sergi, David's always said this is such a purple issue. And to Lloyd's point, I'll let you have the floor, Jay McGuire, as how is this going to affect midterms and things politically in the Lone Star State going into November?
Russell, I think I've talked to you guys about how, my entire career, which started working as the phone banking coordinator for Ann Richards' first campaign, which she won, became governor, lost re-election to George W. Bush. That was the last or the second to the last time a Democrat won a statewide elected office in this state. And this is a state where all of the main offices are statewide officials. None of them are appointed, and none of them are cabinet members. All of our judges on the Supreme Court and the Court of Criminal Appeals, governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, formerly the treasurer, the comptroller of public accounts, all the railroad commissioners, all the PUC is appointed. So my point is that the Republican Party primary, up until maybe this year, is the determining election. And to win the Republican Party primary, which turns out 1.9 million on average reliably, Dan Patrick and the hardcore conservatives cracked the code. It's the rightward third. If you divide them up like a marketing person would into leans Republican, solid Republican, or mild, spicy, and medium, Republicans, the spiciest Republicans, hate marijuana, and they associate it with all of the reefer madness bullshit that I grew up with in the Reagan years. And it is imbued with racism and otherizing and drawing circles around the people that we want out. Moderate Republicans, lean Republicans, and solid Republicans don't feel that way at all. And I would suggest that working class white dudes and increasingly working class Hispanic guys, and I'm only speaking about men because I haven't seen polling on women, use some of these products to just sort of deal with the aches and pains and conditions that guys, when they get to my age after they work a blue collar job, feel. My dad was in pain all the time, knees, all those muscles. And a lot of my friends growing up who roofers, roofing contractors, various other kinds of blue collar jobs, they use this stuff. And this happened because of the failure of our medical system. It's not like, pharma didn't try. They gave us addictive opioids, which cause unnumbered cases of addiction and harm, untold harm. And so here we are, this, ragtag little industry of uppity entrepreneurs and, business people from all walks of life see an opportunity, and we create a $6 billion industry that is providing medicine, relief, wellness, I don't care what you call it. And they want to shut it down. So Russell, I would be pissed off if I were, one of the guys I grew up with and I couldn't get a freaking gummy or a vape.
Well, we're all pissed off
because
because
the governor knows this, and some Republican pollsters understand this.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people that are progressively centered politically within the Republican Party are going to, start to look at the Democratic side for this lieutenant governor position. He put a lot of egg on his face last summer, and people have not forgotten this in the Lone Star State. Earlier today, you kind of gave a little bit of the timeline for what people can expect and how this might ebb and flow with refiles and with the state.
So sure, I mean, obviously there are two cases, and it's going to kind of lead to a somewhat absurd result, given the Supreme Court's decision today. But the decision today is not final. It doesn't become final for 30 days. We also have the ability to file a motion for rehearing, which I'm assuming Butler Snow is going to do. That means that decision will probably not be final for anywhere from 60 to 90 to 120 days, possibly longer. So you're still going to be able to sell the Delta 8s. You're still going to be able to sell everything but HHC, which of course the DEA today said was a controlled substance. Mm-hmm. So you're going to be able to do that. In the meantime, with Delta 9 and our case today, the Texas Hemp Business Council case, we got the injunction today. As soon as the state files an appeal to the plea to the jurisdiction, which the judge actually denied about 4:40 today, I think it was, around 4 o'clock. As soon as that comes in, the injunction, is going to be vacated, and we have to go to the 15th Court of Appeals. We're going to have to get the record from the trial court. Chad and Amanda are already working on that, but we're not going to be able to do anything until we get the actual record from the trial court. And so hopefully that'll be the end of next week that we'll get that, because the court reporter's gone on vacation for a week, and hopefully that doesn't interfere. But, once the 15th court gets it, then depends on whether they rule on the merits or they decide they want to have briefing. Last time we had no briefing on the merits. They just simply granted it. It's called a 28J motion for emergency relief. And what was interesting in the Sky Marketing opinion, the very, very end of it, the justices made a comment that they weren't reaching the issue of how far the injunction could go. But as I was alluding to earlier, the judge very carefully crafted the order to not make it a statewide injunction, but simply to apply to everyone that had a license in the industry. So, what the Supreme Court is going to do with that remains to be seen. But we're going to be litigating the scope of the injunction. And as Jay and I were talking earlier, our clients, the Harwin Union Council, they are already behind us, and they've already indicated that they would probably be agreeable to file a second lawsuit or try to intervene in this lawsuit in order to get standing for more Texans, more retail. And I've already got a group of probably 30 or 40, possibly more, that are amenable to filing additional copycat lawsuits so that we can extend this TRO to the entire industry. So this is pretty complicated stuff, and I'm really trying to make this as simple as I can.
Yeah. No, I know.
Because I know I've seen your eyes glaze over when we talked. We had a dinner. We had a dinner at Matt's El Rancho, and I think we had the same conversation 5 times. And then it was like, oh, now I get it.
Let's just simplify things here. David, do you have to join any particular trade association for this to have an effect on your business?
That's not our argument. That's not what we're arguing right now, including THBC. Now,
right.
The court may decide that's what you have to do, and you might have to have your THBC card or your Harwin Union card or whatever to get a pass.
Let me see your papers.
Yeah, exactly.
Show me your papers. I need to see your card. Your membership card.
I want to
take a commercial break, guys. We'll come right back. Great show, great panel with everybody here. We're going to take our one break here for this. We'll come back in 90 seconds. Podcast 260 here, Blaze Weekly News.
Sergi & Associates specialize in cannabis and hemp law cases here in Texas. Has your store been raided? Do you require municipal litigation? Seeking to trademark your brand? David Sergi is an international cannabis lawyer, and he represents businesses throughout the cannabis industry. Sergi represents clients across the United States and is regularly quoted on cannabis matters in the media. The new website from his team is txhemplaw.com. If you're new to the Texas market and hemp or cannabis industry, look no further than Sergi & Associates. Their legal team offers a broad range of legal practices, providing cost-effective, top-shelf legal representation with a big firm punch in a personal, small firm environment, specializing in hemp, criminal, business structure law, and civil litigation. Texas hemp laws are always evolving. Call Sergi & Associates at 512-392-5010. That's 512-392-5010. Or visit txhemplaw.com.
Welcome back to Blaze Weekly News, podcast number 260, as we continue our conversation here about the shakeup there in the Texas. Well, we won our injunction. We lost the challenge on the Delta 8. That's going to be appealed. We've got movement going on stuff federally. We had the Farm Bill. Great show this week. If you got a comment or a question for the panel, because we are live, we ended up going live after all. So if you have a question, comment for any of our guests, Jay McGuire, Lloyd Covens, Rachel Nelson, my co-host, or David Sergi, or myself, give us a comment there, as we can pop those up on screen since we are live. We'll try to do these live a little more often with the rebrand as we get going. Was that all part continued?
That was all part of the injunction today.
Yes.
I'm going to ask actually Lloyd a question, and that is that when you read the opinion by our court, they were really looking at the idea that Delta 8 was synthetic. And of course, we can argue about that all day, but there is naturally occurring Delta 8. And so one of the questions that I've been asked is, is it we can't have any Delta 8, so that's a de facto ban, or is it naturally occurring? And I think I'd like to hear sort of Lloyd's point of view on this, and also Jay's.
Well, I was always of the opinion that it wasn't a loophole. It was, in fact, THC Delta 8 less strong than Delta 9, which is fine when you think about it. Where the folks here, and let's separate the licensed cannabis people, because clearly they're wrong. We don't have competition to them. We have moms, soccer moms, they're not going to go in a dispensary. So expanding the category is a very good thing. Well, here comes the beverages. It's expanding the category. I think the wrong way in some ways. But back to your D8 point. If I'm a hemp grower and you can extract D8 from a natural hemp plant and put it into a gummy, put it into distillate, put it into a tincture, it is totally a legitimate product operating at 70% of a comparable Delta 9 product. And because it's coming from a natural hemp plant, being extracted, not boiled, synthesized, added ingredients, but that product, just like extraction in D9, should be, I think, in the carve-out that we're going to seek around the federal hemp ban. It's a natural hemp derivative. It's THC. It's not as high level, but why not have that kind of vape or other option, gummy, what have you, when it's more mild and it does produce the good effects on your body? It opens up a lot of your receptors to CBD and other ingredients that are going to help you. And it certainly is THC that is natural. So again, in its real sense, in the D8 sense, and the D10 sense for that matter, it is a legitimate part of THC that should be utilized.
You know, Lloyd, you made a really, really interesting point, and I'm not sure you meant to make it, but it seems to me that by doing what they've done, they're requiring our citizens to walk around stoned, because you've got to go to medical marijuana, and that's a much stronger product than what our industry sells.
Well, you don't have to go if you take one puff from what somebody else takes 6 puffs on a vape.
Yeah.
So it is controllable. You can have a 4 milligram gummy, and if you eat 7 of them, you're going to get pretty stoned. But if you're a soccer mom or you're looking for sleep help, you're a senior, it's very pleasant to have half an edible and use that 2 or 3 times a week. So I'm very much product oriented, and that's why I did the chart. The last thing I would say is synthetics are synthetics. Let's face it. If you're having to boost up the natural quantity of plant X, either take on a massive amount of inputs, it's not the extraction method we want to use, and it's not very efficient. So I believe that's the separating line. When we started talking about THCA that was being created with Chinese imported distillate by some of the friends here that will remain nameless, like MC Nutraceuticals, there is no way that you do it quick and cheap and then charge the same comparable amount as you see in the dispensary and call it the loophole. I hate that word, because we come all the way around now, and McConnell, to save his image, has to kill an entire industry that actually he opened up. So it doesn't make much sense. And yes, I very much agree, David, that we go down the list here. 3 milligrams, 4 milligrams, 5 milligrams. I do not like spray-on smokable hemp. That's my personal view.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't
This sounds like I'm listening to my good friend Wyatt LaRue, who has been talking about this for ages.
Yeah, shout out to Wyatt. Let me ask Rachel to jump in here, and just if you had anything for Jay McGuire or the panel in general with the conversation.
Yeah.
I want to go back to you, Rachel. I know you're yawning over there. When did I get in here again?
Well, something that David Sergi talked about earlier, I want to bring it back to, because I don't know. I just want to make sure it's clear to people listening that if the state appeals today's decision and the court agrees to hear the appeal, then the ban goes back into effect, right? So it's like they're going to have to pull off the shelves again. Like,
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is, when will the whiplash end?
By the time somebody either breaks their neck or they give up.
It's just crazy because, even if the industry wins in the long run, many small businesses will be harmed just in these, week or two off the shelf periods, so.
Yeah, it's frustrating for business owners. A lot of the retailers that I do business with want to know, where are we at with the products? What products am I marketing? What products can I not market right now? And so I'm dealing with that. I'm kind of my little small business is kind of is a trickle down for what industry members can sell or not sell, David. So it's quite frustrating. And to Rachel's point, Jay McGuire, any thoughts or to add on to Lloyd's point earlier to David's? There we go.
There we go. I go back to first principles, guys. I mean, my education about this started with the guy that wrote the bills and got them through Congress in 1970 for President Nixon, and who then subsequently pushed out all the federal funding to basically pay for all of this drug interdiction that was, really just about keeping Black people and brown people from voting and from participating fully in our society. That's exactly what this is about. Dan Patrick and his cronies are A, intoxicated on their power. Let's just point that out. But B, look at what's going on in our society right now. Look at the drastic expansion of federal power through means that are less than legitimate. Look at the way that law enforcement has become brutal and thuggish and wrong. And imagine that turned on Americans again if they're able to recriminalize these products, because that's exactly what Chief Dye wanted. They came to the legislature and said, we can't tell the difference. Make it clear for us. Give them the authority to start arresting people. You're going to see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cases all the time of cops pulling people over using the debunked smell test, and you're going to see a lot of poor people and a lot of minorities thrown behind bars in a state that already incarcerates too many people. It's wrong. It's un-American. It's just simply not the way this country should be, and not the way Texas should be.
David, I have a question for you about the cross-examining on Bo Whitney and the report for the economics part of the hearing. When the state, that's one thing that hardly ever gets looked at too. But just overall on the economic aspect, what was your takeaway this week?
Well, I mean, I thought that Bo did a fantastic job explaining the economic impact, which, by the way, Dish has never really put together a qualified, proper, and appropriate economic impact analysis, something that actually the Supreme Court missed, which will hopefully be part of our motion-free hearing.
Yeah.
But, Bo laid it out there. And frankly, we've had some folks that have, that are landlords that have reached out to us and said, we want to sue if our tenants leave us and all of a sudden we're going to be injured. And if you read the today, you have to show actual harm. And they found that Hometown Hero and Sky Marketing had actual harm. Well, we're going to have a lot of collateral litigation going on about that and back to the state in terms of how this affects them. So,
yeah.
And again, Bo is going to be, star witness number one. And again, he is, his analysis is spot on because he's impeccable. He's not biased. We were in Berlin together and he gave me some pushback on some more of the outlandish economic arguments that I was making. And I appreciated the fact that he was pushing back on it.
Yeah. Well, this is a very, Texas we want these products, and you've got our neighbors to the, Arkansas has got a medical program. Oklahoma's medical. New Mexico's recreational medical. I don't know what Louisiana's got. I haven't got I think they got a small medical program, but clearly, Texas is really dragging the ball. Are they? Why do we have to be the last one when we lead in so many things? It upsets me. I could start cussing and foaming at the mouth like Jay McGuire and talking about Dan McGuire. But it's just frustrating. And Lloyd, I'll bring you back in. You're up there in Colorado. You've seen you're hosting a big event this month for the hemp industry there. I want you to plug that, and as well as just give us your thoughts where Texas lies, because like you said earlier in the show, Lloyd, a lot of other states and the federal movement side, David is aware of this as well, that, they look to Texas. A lot of members of industry curious how this hearing was going to go today or this week.
I don't want to get too much into the political trade-offs, but I was amused that Dan Patrick a year and a half ago thought, I'm going to crush THC. And he got a state senate to get it done. He got all the House members had left the state over redistricting, and they were bad guys, and he went to 2 special sessions. And during one of the special sessions, he made the commitment to improve the TCUP program. I believe that's your number one future mass Texas appeal, to become not just to rec, but to make TCUP the recreational program. It has no downside except the way they handed out the licenses. And that would be my number one thing, because Dan Patrick you had 4 conditions. You had 3 stores selling CBD in the middle of the state. Now you have a real program. So I believe, one, you have to get the regulators off their ass, expedite those stores opening. Yes, some of them will be Verano, GTI, some of them will be Truly, but better that. And then secondly, make those medical cards or conditions, have the conditions be as large as possible, and have those cards be tax-free as Florida does, and then have a person not have to go through a long, big $120 process like we do in Colorado for a medical card, but something for $29, and it's good for 2 years. It's not
Oh my
just
goodness.
difference you have to make. And the last point I would like to make, when we do our conference, May 20 and 21, we're going to keep CBD full spectrum, and we're going to keep broad spectrum. We're going to keep gummies alive, because it's a huge female market. Moms and females in general love gummies and edibles much more than smoking. And that's been, again, something we've seen over and over. So there is no reason for us to argue so much about, do we want this smokable hemp to be the be-all, end-all? It's too easy to hit. Well, let me give you an example. Minnesota came in, one of the best states, best policies. They have no smokable vapes and no smokable legal in the regulated. New York State, same thing. Nothing smokable, because when you burn something and put it in your lungs, you're hurting yourself. And that's something that the cannabis side, I think us guys love to have our smokable. I love them. But it's not politically advantageous to hold on to, we must be able to smoke our cannabis, otherwise we're giving everything else up. I believe vaping can happen. And that's my 2 cents in this interim, to really get those form factors to the mass market in different milligram levels.
All I have to say, guys, is just pay attention to the next, several weeks revelations of what happened with the TCUP expansion licenses, the MSOs that received them improperly, that were not vetted until the governor spoke up and required DPS vet them and made those licenses conditional. And now that we know DPS didn't use its own published scoring rubric, and are claiming, I hear from people in the Capitol, that DPS just says, we didn't have to. We shouldn't have ever published it. We could do whatever we want. Guys, this is lawlessness, and it is corruption, and it is wrong. I think what's good for thee is good for me, sort of thing, with this lieutenant governor and this regime. It's got to stop. The one guy who I think is going to make a difference is Governor Greg Abbott, who is the unsung hero of this entire sordid affair. I think he stood strong against Governor Abbott. Against Governor Patrick's ridiculous Senate bill. And he, unlike Abbott, Patrick, who cannot stay away from a camera, Governor Abbott is a smart man who knows how to fire a rifle shot when, that's called for, and nothing else. So never talk until it improves to silence. That's him. So stay tuned.
Yeah, well, we'll get with you next week. Maybe have you comment again. I'm looking forward to publishing some of the articles on Monday. I know you're going to be working on some editorial. Also, check out Jay's Substack. Subscribe to his Substack and support him there. I think it's J Mad Dog McGuire on Substack. So check him out. We also have his news on blazenews.com and TexasHempReporter.com. Thank you, Jay McGuire. You have a good weekend, buddy.
Bye, y'all.
Bye,
All right,
Dave.
there he goes. We understand it's today was a battle we won, but the war continues, David.
No, exactly. And, I could talk about this all night. And, Lloyd, I may not agree with you on everything, but I agree with you on most things. But, I know there are a lot of men that like gummies. I was sitting next, last night I was sitting next to a former federal judge who's a Republican appointee. And he was so curious about how this actually works because he said, I take it to go to sleep. And it's amazing how many male veterans actually don't smoke because they have lung problems, they have issues, and they're into taking gummies and infused beverages. And my clients that sell smokable, I think we're seeing a decrease in the amount of people with pre-rolls. And we're seeing people that are eating more and taking more and more gummies in smaller doses.
Yeah.
And I agree with you on that. So I don't think it's just moms and moms and sorority gals doing it. I
didn't mean to be one swipe. I was just saying when we take from 2 milligrams up to maybe those 27% pre-rolls that the guys around Colorado seem to have, that's the range. Mm-hmm. This is a great product. Combined with CBG, combined with CBN, combined with THCV, combined with THCA. This is where I'm at. We haven't even scratched the surface on making products to fit different conditions, sicknesses, kids with epilepsy, again, PTSD for veterans. It's a remarkable area. And I think last week going to medical on Schedule 3 really just tore the door open for research and development. And I'm excited. And I really take my hat off to Texas because you have survived in your industry, and these guys in Russ's group, you've been in some of the worst conditions in the country, in the state where the population wants it to be open, legal, and accessible. So you're well on the way, and I congratulate you all for that. I really am amazed. You're so far ahead of Florida. You're so far ahead of Idaho, and I could go on. But it's going to mean 72 million Texans get some of the best services from a whole range of products. And that will be happening with you guys now and into the next 4 or 5 years. So keep at it.
Lloyd, fire off your website and we'll try to pull this up and just tell folks about your event that you got coming up. David said he might even try to make it for one day up there, but pull that up. We'll share that with viewers and just fire this off and tell folks about your event coming up here.
Well, the number one thing is it costs some money to do this. We're having your folks get a $90 discount by using the words YESTEX, YESTEX.
YESTEX.
We've got about 30 experts, 40 experts down. They run from scientific, medical. We've got 12 lawyers plus David. That'll be the lucky 13. And he's just convinced me my 9-minute slot on Thursday, the 21st is going to be way short. So I better break it up. Have one in the morning, then a rest period, and then some more in the afternoon. Because the legal side, unfortunately, a lot of people want it to be cut and dry. It's not cut and dry. And the reason for that is because so many DC bureaucrats in the DEA, the FDA is a little better now, in the government have found it much easier, and all, not just Republicans, Democrats too, a lot of them too old, have attacked cannabis and have attacked hemp at every level. And we're past that point now in America. That's what I'm excited about. This conference is our 7th. It's not going to turn the world on fire, but we hope that Blaze and Hemp Reporter are able to get to a few of the live sessions and especially the legal sessions, because you will see Bob Hoban. He's been at it forever. You'll see Jonathan Miller. He is the backbone of U.S. Hemp Authority. Here we have Sean Hauser in the middle top here. She's been a partner of Vicente forever. Bottom right on marketing, Joe Hodis, who is the president
There's
of Lana
Susan.
Brand.
Ooh, Susan Hayes, we know her.
Susan
Oh, yeah.
is going to give me a lot of hard time about, let's get organized here. This, Addlestone in the middle there has got a good history on international. But yeah, I could go on.
Yeah.
This is our website, www.cbd4mg.com. And
Check it out.
you will get some of this again in future shows in pieces. If you would like to sign up to come to Denver, we certainly love to see you here. But we're going to work on getting sponsors to also do some of the key panels, which will include where you'll see David again, and he can slap around some of his younger folks who are coming up in the legal side.
Hey, Lloyd, I just noticed you had Sean Hauser on there. We actually share a rabbi, so.
Ah, yeah. Texas girl.
Now that she's back in Austin, so.
That's a great thing.
And I'm out of wrap. I've got to wrap it up. I'm out of time, guys. Thank you, everybody. David, thank you for everything. Lloyd, thank you. We'll be in touch. Check out his event, guys. Check it out, cbd4mg.com. Rachel, anything to report on from Amarillo?
Not really. I know I'm curious if the governor is going to weigh in because he's been silent through this. And so I guess time will tell.
Rachel, just notice that when the veto, he didn't open his mouth until 30 minutes before midnight.
Very true. Very true.
And I mean, we got the signal about an hour before that he was actually going to veto.
And I'm Russell. That's Carl. Shout out again to Jay McGuire, Lloyd Covens, Rachel Nelson, and of course, David Sergi. Thank you guys for being a part of our great panel this week. Enjoy your weekend and go relax and have some flour now that you can at least breathe for a little while here in Texas. We'll be back. We'll see you next week. Blaze Weekly News. Thanks, guys.
Time that the man gives it out, Roxanne. She know you really weren't ready. Today you find that you're gone, kicked yourself in a teeth.